Hello, Boris Pravisham here. Welcome back to the Nidd Whitelist server. I have done some colouring. I know I pointed this out with Anubis in the last collaborative episode that we did, but I've been toying with some different colours. There's even a different colour on that pipe up there. But this sort of industrial area I've got in this orange and dark grey, and then over here I've tried sort of, I don't even know what to call that blue, and a lighter yellow, and then this more striking yellow with a cleaner white and a more standard sort of mid-blue, and oh yes, and also this red and dark grey, kind of similar to what I did on the Season 1 server. I've sort of just been painting each wall panel a different colour, and I did start to continue as well until I told myself to stop, because I don't really know what I'm doing, because this is supposed to be a warehouse, and last time I looked, I don't think warehouses usually have such a striking pattern on their walls, even though I quite like this. I think this section here, I quite like that, and that bluey green looking thing there. I quite like those two colours together as well, and there's a few others that I sort of had like started on these walls, but yeah, I'm not sure if that's suitable to a warehouse. I might have to move them perhaps outside to, you know, an exterior rather than the interior, but otherwise I'm not entirely sure how to colour this yet. But if that's the only problem I'm having, then I'm not doing too badly. I have not done as much. Some real-life commitments got in the way, plus Rocket League. That and Disco Dodgeball combined to be the perfect storm of addictive multiplayer games that ended my productivity in this game for a little bit. But I have continued over the past couple of days, and I'm really enjoying the game at the moment. I have a working oxygen system, so just to prove a point, I'm going to turn this. I have it all off at the moment because there's no airlocks or anything like that installed, so if I accidentally open the wrong door, it's all gone. So you can turn this on, and you can see it's green, and it will start pumping oxygen out eventually. And if I open this, it'll stay green. So these two rooms are currently sealed, and like I've said before, I'm sort of going for the sort of having these pressure sealed rooms all connected to one another. So yes, that's working currently. Let's go back down. I have kind of selected purple as my oxygen system colouring. I have green for ingots, blue there for the materials. I think the refineries are either orange or red, and I've got purple for these oxygen things. This is mostly for the planning stages, but I have a feeling they're going to stick around. So I've also made the lighting purple. You can see that sort of haze. That's mostly for upstairs, which we'll go have a look at in a second. Here I've just got the 5 oxygen generators, which is connected into the main system. So and not that I'm hinting, Sal, if you're watching, but if you were to, say, go up to the top connector, hook your ship up to it, and dump in all of the ice that you may or may not have collected from your last mining run, well, I don't think there would be too many unhappy people in this station, because these tanks here, I have, 12 tanks here? Which I thought would be a little overkill. I didn't realize that I have this up to 13% already, and that was with just a couple of like hand-carried clumps of ice that I chucked in the generators just to test the system. But that said, it was up to 15% before that little what I just did then by turning that on. Plus, with such a large area, perhaps this is not I don't know, maybe... I don't know enough about oxygen to say whether or not this will be enough to keep this entire base stocked without it running out. And I've got these on this side stockpiling. I don't know why. It was an option. I just made a third of them stockpile. It might be handy at some point. I think today I'm going to put a sensor on this room so that these lights turn on and off. Up here, that one's not finished because that was one of the magical blocks that disappeared when I placed it down and wouldn't come back until I relogged, which I did just before starting to record because my sim speed was dropping. It seems that you can only get so far without that dropping. Up there, so just for reference, I did talk about this with the noobers, but we tend to get carried away with other stupid stuff. So that's back out to the warehouse. There are the refineries. There's this little catwalk behind here, which isn't all lit up. It's one of the other out of sight, out of mind things. I come up here, ignore the colouring. That's not how it's supposed to be. I think up here is where I'm going to put my timer room. Just sort of up here. I'm not sure if I do want to put it up here because it's kind of out of the way. But that does mean that I can not worry so much about aesthetics if it's up here. Because all of the other rooms, like, you know, the refineries, not so much the assemblers, they were supposed to be, but it didn't turn out that way. The oxygen tanks, that kind of they're all not only functional but aesthetically pleasing, at least to my eye. But maybe the timers, I should just have them not. So this is what I was up there is the top connector. That opens up, that door above that, and the connector rises up. In fact, I can demonstrate that from here. Just give me a second. I have to put. This is one of the reasons why I have to put that timer room in, so I can make all this automated. What am I looking for? That's not the. I want a rotor of some sort to the top blast door. So if you reverse that, then you can see in the background that blast door's opening up. I have showed this off before, but I don't think from this point of view. I wonder if that's far enough. If it's not, then we're about to have an explosion. It may not be far enough. It wasn't, but nothing exploded, just a dint. So, again, if you're watching, Sal, there's a dint in the blast door at the top. I'm not sure how it happened, but it did. If you would maybe weld it up, I would be appreciative. And there's some other stuff. I'm intending to make that look a little industrial, and yeah, so there'll be like connectors and conveyors running across there. But that's mostly to show that, and I think that'll look quite good. You can see the connector sticking up there. I think this would look quite good when a ship comes into dock. Those lights, I'm thinking of making them signify something. So, for example, if the oxygen system was on, they'd be a certain color. If it was off, they'd be another color. If there was a door open, they'd be flashing, you know, that kind of thing. So I'm thinking of putting up a whole, like using the lighting up there, maybe not so obvious at the moment, they're just there for the concept, so the green isn't necessarily going to stay, but I think I could use that wall to sort of signify a few things. Down there is some just niceness. I quite like the look of that. Just walking along here and seeing the oxygen system down there. The rest of that room down there is empty at the moment, and I'm going to try and fill that out a bit. We need some oxygen. This hallway, the lighting in here is not done yet. One thing I have noticed is that people tend to not use the fall off setting of interior lights, which I think is quite important. If we go down to the warehouse floor ones, all my naming is horrendous. That's just how I do things. I have the radius all turned up on these ones just to get the lighting in there done. I'm hoping to go through light by light and adjust them all properly so that the warehouse looks as good as it can. But in the warehouse, and I'm going to go in there to demonstrate this fully, but when you've got a large area to cover, I find having the fall off to be as low as possible, which is to say, what's that flashing light? Is that just a... It's just a lighting glitch. Oh. So when we come in here, when you've got a large amount of area to light up, and as I said, the lighting in this room is not done. You can see kind of all these splotches everywhere. You can see it particularly down in the corner over there. So it's all white and splotchy, and there's problems like this where the intensity's up too high and it's reflecting off there, and it's, yeah. So these are little things that I've got to fix, but for an area this big it becomes difficult, and I kind of don't want to invest the time without knowing what it's going to look like in DX11. Just to update you on that, I uninstalled firstly all, like, any trace of Space Engineers off of my system, all completely gone. I did the same with all my graphics drivers, and then reinstalled everything up. It's all updated. The game DX11 worked perfectly for a day. The very next day I couldn't load it again. No idea why. It's fine with any other game, just this one. The reason why I'm not frantically worrying about trying to get it running is because when I came in here with the X11, I had a whole 5 frames a second, and Anubis has had the same problem. He came in here and recorded the last couple of episodes at 10 FPS, whereas now I'm getting about 25. That goes up to about 27 when I'm not recording, and when the lights go off, if I come over here, come on, lights, go off. Now we're getting up towards 29ish, and that's above 30 when not recording. So these are thoroughly acceptable FPS rates to be playing this game, more than I've had for a lot of the rest of the time, especially with a base this big. So the game is handling this quite well in DX9, and the draw card of DX11 for me was the ability to light things up and to make use of the DX11's better ability at rendering lighting. But it's something's not working as it should, because DX9 is just running so much better. Plus lighting is a thing. It is so much harder to light in DX11, to the stage where you could have sort of that glow. You could have a room lit up and have that purple kind of glow, and that's my problem, not the game's. I've just got to relearn how to do it, but yeah, that's going to take some effort to get all this back up. So lighting is one area that I really like getting right, but I'm sort of in two minds about it at the moment as to whether to put the effort in and then, grudgingly have to convert to DX11 at some point and relearn it all and redo it all, or do it now and hope for the best. I realized I'm scrolling through this but not actually paying attention. So what am I looking for? A sensor. S. I wish these were either in alphabetical order or there was a search button, a search thing. So that'll build that. Whoa, I keep forgetting about my DPI settings. Yes, I'm just going to put a sensor in here today for the next 10 minutes, which apparently I have left. I'm going to, if you remember last episode, the last solo episode, which was a little while ago now. I'm sorry it's been a little long between drinks. But yes, I mentioned an event, a Space Engineers event, that I would like to get running. I was thinking of Space Engineers while trying to find a sensor. So I'm thinking, ooh, what colour have I got there? Orange. That's interesting. I think I might make this a purple just for the sake of it, because it'll kind of match the rest of it. So you think that'll be enough room? I think there'll be enough room if I put this let's put this roughly in the center. So here. That'll be that one. That'll be the center. So third along there. Oh. I just had to gather my thoughts there for a second because I'm not entirely sure how to sort of present this, but so it looks like for next month we'll be doing another event in Minecraft. Sal and Anubis talk about this in their what's it called, Partners in Grind series, where they just tell stories and that kind of thing. I think they talk about that in their last episode, so that you can go look at that and you'll see it's to do with terra firma craft. I've not really looked into it terribly much because modding in Minecraft has never really caught my fancy. I'm not entirely sure why, but it just hasn't. So that's the bottom. There we go. So we want to bring this to about, let's put it just through the door, so as you walk in it's not dark. We'll make that a nice round 25, and then we're going to go to the top extent. Yeah, so there'll be something happening in it with a terra firma craft Nidd event in Minecraft. So we'll make the next sensor come up to about here. But I realize that the majority of Niddites probably aren't the biggest Minecraft players. Maybe once upon a time, but not as much anymore. Space Engineers is primarily, how we all came together, and it's been a little long between them. I think I'll leave that jutting out there. We've got to bring it up to this wall. So let's have a look at this wall. This turn on. Oh, I don't really need a light. Oh, turn on light anyway. That's not what I want. I've got a macro key on my keyboard, just if you're wondering, which is just to the left of my escape key. So between the two different options menu, I'm often clicking the macro key, which I have shortcutted to the K button to my inventory, so I can press my inventory with my left hand without moving it off WASD. Where are we? Sensor. Now this will be I'm not doing a very good job of telling you about this event, am I? Which is kind of why I was putting it off for a little while. Okay, so in Space Engineers, one of the things that we tend, I guess a lot of people would probably have thought about and wanted to do, is some sort of large-scale combat. A large, I guess you could call it a war, rather than just a simple battle, because a battle is pretty easy to do. You just get a bunch of people and another bunch of people, set some rules, like, for example, we do in Roid Grab or something like that. Even, just here's your fighters, go at it. But the problem with that, this bounding box already comes up to about where I was going to put it, so that's handy. The problem with that is that Space Engineers is such a long game. It takes a long time to get anywhere, and I guess if you're doing these shorter battles, you feel a lot of the engineering has either had to happen before playing, or indeed you just don't have the time. You feel like you've not done everything you wanted to do by the end of it. So I wanted to have something a little more larger scale. So you would have, say, 4 factions on a server over the course of, for example, 2 weeks, and you would have some sort of winning conditions that all the factions would fight towards. I'm just going to set up this sentence. I should probably, actually make the sensor do something. Interior lights. Now, it's all this oxygen stuff that I've named once again terribly. Oxygen room. Save that. Now go to a sensor. Oxygen room. And then we want to make it Where's all the sensing options? Down here. Detect players. All of that. Detect owner friendly. Yeah, that's all fine. Setup action. Go to a group. Refinery lights. I've obviously named these all terribly different things. Turn it on. Turn it off. And now I want to get rid of the sensor range as well as go back into here. And we turn off the sensor on the HUD so that we can't see that. Oh. And the lights go off, but the purple glow stays on, which is what I wanted. So perhaps I should decrease the top, no, the back extent, I think it's called, because I don't think I want those other lights coming on when you walk above. See how the other lights are on? I think that's a waste, so we may just turn that down to 0. If we go in here to the sensor and we'll drop that back down. Where are we? Back extent? Down like that. 5 meters is 2 blocks, which puts it at the floor perfectly for the front extent. So now those lights are off, which is perfect. We still get that purple glow, and if we were just sort of standing down the bottom, yeah, if we were just standing here, that purple glow would still exist. But you'll be able to see your way around when you're actually in the room. So we save some calculating power. So the server isn't having to work that out. Anyway, okay, let's get through this very quickly, because I've done a really bad job at explaining it. Trust me, this is better than all of the other episodes that I've recorded and had to scrap, because it's been even worse than this. So let's just sit here for a minute and do it properly. So we would have, for example, 4 factions, maybe 5 players on each, but it could be any number. And each of those factions would be fighting in some sort of war. The winning conditions I'm not sure of. That's something that I'll need help with, because I'm not entirely sure how to tell who is the winner after 2 weeks of fighting. Over those 2 weeks, there would be very few constraints. We would have perhaps rules to make sure that you couldn't entirely wipe out a faction, so that people were still able to rebuild, but it would have to be enough of a punishment so that if people were to be completely destroyed, they couldn't just immediately pop back up. There would also not be any time constraints, so attacks could happen any time of the day and night. So you would have to have teams that were fairly well balanced as far as time zones and when people play. You would have to have people that are fairly dedicated over those 2 weeks, which is why I was kind of thinking maybe at the end of the first week we could reassess the teams and we could add in any new people that we wanted to throw in. We could hold some people back for that last week so that we could try and balance the teams up a little bit and give people a bit of an extra kick if they need it. But because people could attack your base at any time of the day or night, you would have to build up automated defenses. So I'm thinking maybe the first 3 days would be a bit of a gentleman's agreement to just not attack anyone else and give you time to build up. And then over the course of the next 2 weeks you would launch continuous raids, and you would be fighting towards perhaps even if it was some sort of a territory thing, so we had a set number of asteroids across the entire playing field, and your job would be to try and hold as many of them as possible, something like that. I'm coming to you with a very raw idea so that hopefully people can kind of nitpick it and work out if it would actually work at all. Although this wouldn't be for recording purposes. I don't want Nidd events to be something that's just for YouTubing. From that side of things, I think this would be something that would be interesting to watch. And I would do it such that I would be on the server every day throughout those 2 weeks, and every day I would record something. I would then label each day's recording as day 1, day 2, so on and so forth, and then after the event is over, on the very next day after it's over, I would then release day 1, and the next day I would release day 2. So we get this story forming, and hopefully anyone else that wants to record can do the same. If you don't record, then write it down and do a bit of a battle log. So that we can kind of release the journal of your hard day's work each day in sort of a faux real time after the event has happened. I think that would be quite interesting to watch. Plus, it doesn't interfere with the game itself by people finding out about things through watching other people's videos. Hopefully I have done enough of an explanation. I know I've not done it very well, but I'm hoping to try and get this going. Hopefully around about September, October, we can do something in Space Engineers that's a little bit bigger, that's a little more engineering based, that gives people the time to try and have a little bit of a larger scale battle, one where things are a little bit more strategic and about really engineering your way to a victory rather than just being good at a dogfight. But it would require interest. This isn't something that would work without the people in the slightest. So I'm guessing we're probably going to need around 30 people for this to work properly. If this is something that interests you, if you just want to try and pick out the problems that could possibly be, add in some thoughts, that kind of thing, then please let me know. I know most people don't leave comments on my videos anymore. They send me messages directly. Either way is fine with me, so do whatever you wish. And again, I apologize for explaining this badly, but hopefully you got enough of an idea to try and get the ball rolling, and hopefully in a month or two we can do something similar to this. Thank you for watching this episode. Please let me know your thoughts or your interest. Goodbye.